I'm a bit sad that there's no, rock and flying version because there is no clay models of those because they weren't around for Pikmin 2.
Well, I guess now I have no other choice but to make Jeffrey the rock and flying Pikmin for Christmas this year. And I figured as a present to the rest of you, I will show you how I did it, and then you can have a go yourself. I mean, I'm not a professional, I just sort of put the ideas together and was like, that should work. But anyway, let me show you what you will need. The most important ingredient you will need is the terracotta moldable clay. It is self-drying, and I went to about 3 different spotlights to try and find some white. Unfortunately I couldn't, so I'm stuck with this brownie colored stuff. You will need assorted fake flowers. You can buy whatever kind you like, but they also sell them at Spotlight. Everything here you can get from Spotlight. Googly eyes from Pikmin. I have this bendable wire, which I sort of stick inside the clay for their arms or for the stem to hold the flower up. I think this is really useful. You will need a glue gun with some glue, obviously paint. You will need some paintbrushes. And just for the flying Pikmin, I have this bendable sort of plastic stuff, just for their wings. So if you want to make the flying Pikmin some sort of bendy plastic, I guess, clear stuff for their wings. And lastly, you will need a surface to work on because this stuff can get messy. So, let's get into it.
I decided to work on the rock Pikmin first because he's bigger and I wanted to make sure I had enough clay. I ended up using about 1.5 blocks and just mold it into this rock type shape. He doesn't really have a unique shape, it's just kind of a blob. When I cut off the stem, I cut the wire first and then molded the clay around it, as you can see here. It's not super neat, but just make sure your hands are nice and wet so you can mold the clay nice and easy. Have a sort of spare bowl of water close by. And then to get that jagged rock shape, I just kind of used some dental floss and sliced away at it to give it a little bit more of a jagged look, as you can see here. And then I used a knife at the bottom to just tidy up the ends and make it look a little bit neater. Next I added on the arms, and I always find the arms are really finicky, so don't be afraid if you mess up to pull them back out and remold them and start again and then shove them back in and try and attach them as best you can. I found that was always the trickiest part. Make sure your hands are nice and wet so you can mold them in there and try and get them attached. The next part is the rat claw hands. I always find their hands kind of tricky, but I used some scissors and then I used some of the spare wire to just mold it in there nice and neat. Next up, I decided to work on the flying Pikmin. And I found him a little bit tricky because the top is bigger than the bottom. But to do that, I just made a small ball at the bottom and then a bigger ball for the top. But I used some extra wire to shove into the smaller part at the bottom to just kind of stabilize and help the top not fall off. And as you can see here, I'm just kind of mold it and stick it together so that it doesn't fall apart. Next up, with the stem of the flying Pikmin, I decided to cut the wire first and then mold the clay around it. I'm not sure which way is better, whatever way works for you. It's still always tricky adding pieces to the base, onto the body. And then just shove the flower in there. Make sure you have a little bit of stem so you can just kind of shove it in there like that. From there, we decided to add the wings on, and I just cut up some plastic. It wasn't really a mold or anything that I used. You just guess. These are, clay Pikmin that'll go in your garden, so they don't have to be super neat, but it's the best I could do. And there's the finished product of the wings, and that was after just one try. I just kind of guessed, and I think they look alright. Next up is the arms of flying Pikmin. Same as the rock Pikmin, you just cut some wire, try and mold the hands on there, mold the arms on there, and then shove them into the body. They are a lot longer than what they should be as far as aesthetics of the game goes, but it's a bit tricky when you're working with clay. And that's the final product. Don't be afraid to play around with it and just mix it up as best you can.
Well, this is it. This is kind of where I'm at after 2.5 hours. I have forgotten how much I hate doing their arms and their little rat claw hands because you can't get them as thin as what they would, well, I can't get them as thin as what I'd like them to be. We've just got to wait for them to dry and then we can paint them. So I think that's it for the day.
Okay, so after about 24 hours of letting them dry, they started to show a few cracks, and I think that's because maybe I had the aircon on or there was fans blowing, so I think they might have dried too quickly and just gotten a couple cracks. So what I did to fix it is I just pulled out some extra clay and you just fill it in. Unfortunately, it does take about 2 days for them to dry properly, so if they do start to crack or anything like this, just cover it up and you'll be fine. Next up is painting, the fun part. I couldn't get the dark grey that the rock Pikmin kind of are from the shop, so you just mix it up, and I am colorblind, so I think I kind of did the best job I could, and you might have a better color or be able to sort it out better than I did, but just enjoy the time lapse of painting.
One more coat of paint and they're pretty much done. I just got to glue the eyes on. Let's get to it. Well, we did it. Here we are. It really only takes a few hours to make these as far as actual work goes, but you kind of have to wait for the clay to dry, then put some paint on, then wait for the paint to dry, and then like put the glue on with the eyes and the flowers. And so, I don't know, between taking little breaks every couple days, it does take a little bit more time, but I'm happy with them. I think they turned out sort of as good as they can. I'm not really a professional, but I enjoy making them for Jeffrey, and I'm looking forward to seeing his face when he opens them up for Christmas. So, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave us a like and share, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, blah, 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 blah. Jeffrey and I love Pikmin. We love Pikmin, and we love you for subscribing and watching. So, thank you, and Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.